Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to the Zionist Congress right before he made his way over to Germany. He took a trip to Germany, and he made some outrageous comments. Let's take a look.
Other attacks on the Jewish community in 1920, 1921, 1929 were instigated by a call of the Mufti of Jerusalem, Haj Amin al-Husseini, who was later sought for war crimes in the Nuremberg trials because he had a central role in fomenting the final solution. He flew to Berlin. Hitler didn't want to exterminate the Jews at the time. He wanted to expel the Jews. And Haj Amin al-Husseini went to Hitler and said, if you expel them, they'll all come here. So what should I do with them? He asked. You said, burn them.
I mean, Hitler, he just wanted to expel the Jews. Hitler just wanted to kick out the Jews. He didn't want to kill the Jews. I mean, it was really that Palestinian guy who said, kill the Jews, and then he listened to. That's the way it went down. So are the Nazis really totally to blame for this? I mean, the Mufti dude was convincing, wasn't he? They were just going to expel him, but then he convinced them, gotta kill him. So really it's this Palestinian guy. So if you want to blame anybody, blame the Palestinians and the Muslims, you know what I'm saying? Oh God, that's so gross. Even Netanyahu's right-wing allies are slamming him over this. Even his right-wing allies are going, dude, you know you done fucked up, right? And not that he gives a shit about the facts or anything, but here they are. Quote, the meeting between Husseini and Hitler in Berlin took place on November 28, 1941. More than 2 years earlier, in January 1939, Hitler had addressed the Reichstag, I love those words, and talked clearly about his determination to exterminate the Jewish race. The killing centers in Poland were organized under so-called Operation Reinhard, and work on these units began in October 1941, a month before the Mufti visited Jerusalem. That's what he's saying. It's just flat out not true. Nobody was ever more clear about their overt anti-Semitism and the fact that he wanted to kill all the Jews than Hitler. Now, understand, does that mean that therefore there's never been a single Palestinian in human history that hasn't been a raging anti-Semite? Of course not. Everybody can agree that there's some level of raging anti-Semitism among some people in the Palestinian territories. Absolutely nobody's denying that. But the fact of the matter is that Netanyahu is factually incorrect. And the real issue here is what the implication is behind what Netanyahu is saying. That's the real problem. Because in deflecting away from, well, Hitler, he wanted to expel us, but then he killed us after the Palestinian guy kind of made him and told him. What he's really doing there is, it's like a bait and switch. It's like, well, I mean, back in the day, sure, the Nazis were the problem against the Jews, but today, I mean, let's keep it real, Palestinians, they've had a history of this too, and they've dehumanized us so much and they hate us so much that, God, they're savages, they're barbarians, and isn't anything we do against them justified because you know how they are? That's at the core of what he's saying. And understand, guys, even if you're somebody who's, you know, big-time pro-Israel, that's fine and that's acceptable, but don't pretend like that's not at the core of what he's saying here, because that is at the core of what he's saying here. You know that's at the core of what he's saying here. He wouldn't have fucking said it if that wasn't the case. Why else would he go, you know, Hitler, he wasn't totally anti-Jew. That Palestinian guy made him really anti-Jew. And see what we're dealing with today? It's so similar. That's what he's getting at. You know that's what he's getting at. And now let me read you a great comment on this, on Raw Story, which really crystallizes this issue well. They say, quote, it is a sad irony that Netanyahu is distorting the history of the Holocaust in order to shift blame to the Palestinians, but it makes sense in the context of his politics. Netanyahu's goal has been to deny Palestinians' rights and to claim they are simply driven by irrational hatred. This form of incitement that shifts blame from the Nazis themselves to the Palestinians is exactly in line with his politics, but the absurdity of the claim may backfire on him. That's true. And like I said, it already did. There are other right-wingers in Israel going, you went too far. So it's a absolutely ridiculous comment. And again, guys, just to be perfectly clear, is it true? Is it the case that there's some anti-Semitism in the Palestinian territories that's birthed solely out of religion and culture, and not necessarily based on the occupation and the oppression? Yes, I concede that. But a lot of it is also based... What turns out when you're occupied and you're oppressed, you're more likely to be super fundamentalist and to hate everybody on the other side. It's not excusable, it's not correct, but it certainly is an explanation as to why that is. And what Netanyahu is doing here is he's dehumanizing further to then justify, well, I mean, if we got to continue the occupation, if we got to continue oppressing, it is what it is because, I mean, come on, you know how irrational they are. I mean, it was the Palestinian dude, the Mufti, who told Hitler to do the final solution. He wasn't even going to do it, and then he did it because of the Mufti, because of the Palestinian guy. You know how those Palestinians are. Give me a pass when I do fucked up shit against them.